Hey guys, how are you? Sorry, this video is a little bit later than anticipated. I wanted it up yesterday, but I couldn't get round to doing it in the end, which is a real pain in the bum. But anyway, I'm doing it now, and I'm going to answer a couple of questions and a couple of common questions I get asked as well on these subjects. So, first thing I want to talk about, sorry, I'm also doing this whilst out and about. I have very little time to do nothing. Or to myself to be able to film properly. So I'm having to do this as usual when I'm out and about with the gang. And you see all the dogs and the guys up front. So they're minding the walk while I make this video for you lot. So anyway, 3 points I want to cover. Force-free training, that's the first one. And what is that? Okay, so force-free training, I think I covered a little bit on this the other day, but force-free training is pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. It's training a dog a new skill without having to force them to do it. And there are still trainers that do this, but it's really, in my opinion, it's not necessary anymore. It never was. It was just nobody really knew about it until maybe 20-25 years ago, and then things started to change, and for the better as well. So force-free training, it is exactly what it says on the tin. It's when you teach a dog a new skill without having to force them to do it. So for instance, you may use a lead. If you have to force the dog to do something, you may want to sit and you may push down on their bum and pull up on the lead, which is forcing him to do it or her to do it, which is not necessary anymore. The way we can do it now is to introduce food or toys or something to lure them into position, reward them for it, and that'll have a much stronger bond with the cue. So when you do say sit, they'll be more willing to do it. So that's the idea behind force-free training, is to kind of manipulate the dog with something they like, they want, whether that's praise, fuss, or we'll go left, guys. Whether that's fuss, praise, or affection, or food. There you go. There they are. They're off. We're debating which way to go. So that's force-free training. The next bit I wanted to talk about is positive reinforcement. So that comes hand in hand really with force-free training, because there's no other alternative. If you're a force-free trainer, or if you don't force them to do it, then you have to strengthen the behaviour using positive reinforcement. And the only way you're going to do that is by using food or toys or praise or games or something which the dog likes. Now this changes. This is really important to note this as well. Positive reinforcement is the introduction of a stimulus to the equation, if you like. It's more like a plus symbol. It's the positive in positive reinforcement is not necessarily is that a good thing. It's just something you add to the equation. For instance, when a dog sits, you give them food, so you add the food. It's the add bit, not the food bit. The positive experience just happens to be a coincidence. It's the same word. Now, the thing is with positive reinforcement, you have to use something that the dog likes, whether that is food, and then it depends on what type of food. They may not like every kind of food. Ooh, you right, babe? They may not like every kind of food you have on offer, and so you may have to really find something that they truly do like. Toys, same thing. Each dog has a different toy that they prefer, and that really is down to the individual dog and how you've conditioned them to enjoy that toy, because they don't really like. I'm just going to adjust this. Oh, I can't. My bloody hand's stuck. I thought I was being clever by putting my hand through a bit, but I need to adjust this. There you go. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so we use something the dog likes, and the dog has to like it, but it's their perception of it, not yours. So you may say, well, I'm going to give my dog a piece of chicken, which most will like it, but I know some that don't. So just because you think it's good, it doesn't mean the dog is going to like it. So you have to find the thing that motivates the dog. Oh God. Look at these guys. They do love this this walk through here. So it has to be something that they like. And then you use positive reinforcement to strengthen the bond between the cue and the action, and it then becomes a good experience. And carry on. Oh, you wondering where to go? You wondering where to go?
No, we were kind of waiting to see if you fell in the water.
Wait and see if I fell in the water. I'm an expert at this, guys. I'm an expert at this. You two are the novices. I'm the expert here. Oh. I do fall, I just don't tell them. You carry on so I can film. It's like the boys on tour today. It's normally females that are out walking more than us. Oh, well, when is the combination anyway? I know, we're going. Good boy, Obi. Good boy. Okay, so that's positive reinforcement. Okay, using food, toys, games, whatever it may be. Sometimes people ask the question as to when do I stop using food. Don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. I mean, you know, using food to lure the dog into position and train them the new skill. Once it's taught and you've repeated it, and this is so important. The key thing when teaching a new skill is to repeat the behavior. Repeat. I can't tell you that enough. If you don't repeat it, it'll never get strong enough. And so you'll never get away from using food. Now, there's times when, yes, we don't have food. Okay? Okay. There's times when we don't have food. I have no loose dogs up here. There's times when we have situations where we may want to ask the dog to do something and we won't have food with us. That's fine. It's still not forcing them, but it'll only work if you practice enough. If you practice enough and it's repetition, I mean hundreds and hundreds of times of positively reinforcing the behavior you're asking for. Sit down, stay, whatever it is, you have to practice. That is the key to the successful conditioning of that cue and command. Even things like stay, you don't need, it's not necessary to teach a release command for stay. Sorry, not a release command, an extension command, i.e. telling them to stay in place. Keep going, you're all right. An extension to the stay, you just teach them stay and you keep repeating it and lengthening the time and then release them at the end. And ultimately they should stay there until the end because it's a fun thing to stay there. So whether you're using food or not. But the question of, when do I stop using it? Well, you never really stop using it to teach the dog anything. You always need to make it a fun experience. I mean, Christ, when I teach my kids anything new or help doing their homework or anything like that, it's making it a fun experience, not forcing them to do it. It's making it worthwhile, explaining to them it's worthwhile doing it because of the results, and they enjoy doing it. So and that's kind of definitely when I was in school, it wasn't so fun doing homework. But now I see my daughters growing up and they're doing homework, from ages of 3 up to 8. And all the way through, it's a much more fun experience, even from the teacher's, point of view. Giving the homework, it's much more fun. It's easier for even parents to understand now and how to implement it with the kids. So, making it fun is really important. So don't focus on trying to stop using food to reward them. But what you need to do is practice it and in every single possible environment you can think of. You don't just want to be practicing at home and then expecting the dog to respond outside. Practice it and repeat the behavior in every possible environment you can think of, where it's outdoors, beaches, woodlands, your garden, streets, anything you think of as to where you could practice. Okay, I'm here now, you can go now. That is what you're going to try and do. And I work on 4 different levels of distraction. So low, medium, high, and then a super high level distraction, which is the ultimate then challenge for your dog, is to get them to perform the same cues in the different areas. Now, I had a question off Sam Dacey. Sam has a beagle named Ralph, who's with us today. He's up there somewhere. Guys, I'm trying to film here. And her question is, they listen to me so well. Sorry, her question is. I got to try and remember this question. Sam is struggling to get Ralph to focus on food when she's out and about for recall, and he gets distracted by the dogs. I hope you can hear through all this barking. Jet, quiet, just a minute now. Right, leave it there. Thank you. And she wants to find a higher value food reward for the recall. Now, Sam, my answer to you is try not to find a higher value food reward. Initially, try and revalue his current food. And what I mean by that is make his current daily food more valuable to him. And the way you do that is to use it for training. So use his food to train him to do things. Don't give him free food. Don't give him food in his bowls anymore. Give him food through training. So you'd ask him to do his basic commands, more advanced commands, and also you should be doing this. Everybody should be doing this maybe twice a day at least. Two 15-minute sessions a day, split or one whole 30 minutes, whichever, as much as you can, but at least 15 minutes. Let me fallen. Oh, okay. Looks like he's fallen. He hasn't though. It's a shame. So at least 2 15 to 20 minute sessions a day of training using the dog's own food, particularly good if they're on kibble, because it's much easier to use pieces of food each time they do something. So, for instance, Sam, when you're home, you can practice sit, down, stay, all that kind of thing, and each time he does it, you give him a bit of food for it, and then you make it last 15 to 20 minutes. You make his meal last 15 to 20 minutes, and never giving it to him out of his bowl, because you don't want free food, you want him to work for his food. Oh, God. Hope that makes sense. And I promise you, it's a very powerful way of doing it. Now, obviously, this is going to take a little bit of time to build up a bit of an appetite for this. So work at that, but don't give in. He will eventually eat it. It may take a day or two for him to eat it, and this is only applicable to older dogs and not puppies. When we're talking about dogs under the age of 6 months, then it's not the case. It's slightly different. But over the age of 6 months, build up that appetite, make them work for the food, because this is a healthier way of feeding them rather than getting sausages and beef and steaks and hams and all that kind of stuff, because that can be unhealthy for the dog. Is give them their own food, which is much more balanced and much healthier than anything else. So that's my answer to that, Sam. But more than just that, understand that recall, if you're having recall problems, recall is a lifestyle. It's a way that you are with your dog. It's less of a, I'm going to train my dog to do something, and it's more of a lifestyle, as is training, to be honest, because if you can't just practice recall and then stop just because you think they've got it. It's the same with anything. You teach sit, just because they've got it doesn't mean they're going to repeat it time and time again. If you don't practice, you have to practice it. It's the same, if we have this analogy, for instance, if you, whatever job you might be in, I remember, my last job many years ago. I used to know the IT systems inside out, and I could do a lot of things on there. Now, if I went back to that job, I wouldn't have a clue what I'm doing on the IT systems. Not necessarily because it's changed, I'm sure it has, but more so because I can't. Oh, thanks, Milo. More so because I can't remember, because I haven't practiced. So I'm losing the ability to operate the IT system in my old work place because I haven't practiced. So it's the same with the dogs. If you don't practice, well, it's the same. If you don't practice, you lose it. You don't use it, you lose it. And that is it. So recall is a lifestyle. You should be paying attention to how much interaction your dog has on a walk that is away from you, i.e. how much they play and interact with strange dogs, how much they go and run and play in the walk, because if it's too much, then you're encouraging them to do exactly what you're trying to avoid, which is go away from you and not listen to you, not respond. And as much as it's lovely to watch the dogs interact and play, it should be done in a controlled manner, whereby it's also practicing getting them back to you, and really you need to be more fun than anything else in the environment. And that is difficult because you'll never compete with a dog or a squirrel, but in which case don't let them experience it too much, because if they experience it too much, then we're going that way, guys, let's go that way. If they experience too much of that and it happens to be better than you, then that's exactly what they're going to choose. Why would they choose second best when they can choose the best experience? So if their best experience is other dogs, then you're going to struggle to get them back around other dogs. So you need to make sure you manage it, balance it, let them socialize, which is going to be another video of mine, socialization and exposure. You know, you need to do that properly. So anyway, one last point, hopefully that answers your question, Sam. One last point on force-free dog training. People say, you know, it's impossible sometimes to train a dog on for Milo, come here, buddy. Come here. On force-free alone. Now, I don't have food with me. I'm not going to play with the dogs. Milo, come here, buddy. Come here. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Good boy. Okay. But we use something, a very powerful training method, and that's random reinforcement. Random reinforcement is a very, very powerful tool, and it's not used enough in everyday life, especially work environments. Alex, bear with me. Alex, keep going up, walk and turn left. Yeah, go to the Crazy Hill, turn left. Killer Hill, not Crazy Hill. There's a Killer Hill here. We call it Killer Hill because it's where we test all our daycare staff. If they can do Killer Hill, then they got a job. There are other things, obviously. But anyway, so random reinforcement, one of the most powerful things you can have in your toolbox for methods. And random reinforcement means that you will not reinforce the dog with something every time. You will do it completely random. And what that means is the dog will never know when it's coming. They'll never know when the reward is coming. It always will eventually, but they won't know when it's coming. And so they will work the same for it, whether you ask them and you don't reward them straight away, or whether you reward them 3 or 4 times later on. Try and call Chip out for this one. Chip out, where are you two, mate? There you are. You ready? Sit. Yes, good boy. Well done, buddy. Well done. Okay, so you notice there I use Chip for the sit. A basic one, but one nonetheless. He practices an awful lot. I use no food reward. Yes, I used a marker because there's no harm in using a marker, but I didn't even have to use that, to be honest, because we practice so much. So random reinforcement, it's something you have to work on with the dog as well. You can't just go straight into doing random stuff for long periods, so he won't get any reward now, food wise anyway, until later. But for a dog that isn't used to that, then you have to be rewarding every 2 or 3 times to start with, and just build that up slowly. Carry on for a bit and just build that up slowly, so that eventually they can do it, you know, sometimes for the entire day before rewarding them at the end. But they will always need some food reward. Why not? I mean, you have to feed them, so that might as well be their reward every day. So you'll always use food. But anyway, guys, I hope that answers all your questions. I'm going to do a video maybe over the weekend regarding socialization and exposure. on that subject. So if you've got any questions on today's video, pop them in the comments section below. If you've got any questions on the socialization and exposure, then also pop them in the comments below, and I will look to answer them in the next video. If you haven't already, then subscribe to my YouTube channel, get on my Facebook page, Instagram, it's all James Davis the Dog Man, and I shall see you in my next one. Bye guys. Say bye guys, say bye. They're not even listening to me. Hello? Say bye. They said bye. Say bye. Bye Mario. Chip. Say bye. Say bye. Good boy. See you later.